I'm a genius, Paul Thurrott, and it is not respected enough.
I am going to require some evidence.
Oh, I've got visual evidence.
Okay.
My parenting has no bounds on my
Yep.
creativity to torment my child
All right.
and make her learn things against her will. So, in
Okay.
2 weeks' time, roughly 2 weeks, something like that, which is scary to say, she has to go back to school.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the first year with lockers, which means it's the first year that she has to learn how to do like the combo lock.
Yes.
And the school actually recommends, they're like, hey, get a combo lock from Target or whatever, cheapest one, so your kid can learn, so it's not a big deal.
Well, you don't
and
want
they
to lose the
understand it.
key and not be able to get in, and
Yep,
at
exactly.
least the parents
Now
will know the combo, etc.
Now, we got my kid a lock, and she's been struggling with it, so I found the perfect solution to make her learn. You ready for this? I'm going to put an image up on the screen here. I locked the Apple TV remote behind the combo lock. And if she wants to watch TV, she had to learn how to get it out.
That's beautiful. When I was
I'm very proud of this.
when I was less than 7 years old, because we moved to Dedham when I was 7, my mother told me something that actually stuck with me, which is that you don't remember anything you need to make lists, right? Because I have a terrible memory. But there is an oddity. I wrote about this. If it's someone in the premium program listening to this or watching this, they might remember this. But at some time in the past 2 years-ish, I wrote some editorial probably for the newsletter in which I described how I have a lock, one of those locks that dates back to when I was first married, and I know the exact combo, and I use it to this day at the gym. But there was a several-year period where I never needed it, and I started going to the gym a couple of years ago. And I said, hey, do we have a lock or something we could use? Or I got to buy one. And she said, this lock's been sitting in the drawer forever. And I was like, zoop, zoop, zoop. And I did it it's for some reason, Social Security's in there. My combo to this lock is in there. It's like, that's one of those things. And I'm telling you what you just did to your daughter, which is beautiful, by the way, she will never forget this combination for the rest of her life. She will be married and have 3 kids of her own. And she'll be like, I don't know what it is. Yeah, that's good stuff.
Yeah.
Is that a gerbil cage you put it in, by the way?
It's like a little, it's a toy gerbil cage thing. You can actually see the instructions are still on there. She was part of some kit of some other gerbil-related toy thing that she had.
I see.
And it was perfect. She could see the remote was in there. It was locked.
So inquiring minds want to know, has she gotten the remote out of there?
She has. It
There we
worked.
go.
It took
It
her,
worked.
well, there was some anger involved. Mostly, Dad, why would you do this to me?
I mean, the strongest things you'll ever learn will come with struggle. You know?
Yeah. But the thing is, in about 15 to 20 minutes, she figured it out.
I love it.
I wouldn't
That's
say
good.
she's perfect at doing these locks now, but she at least has the basic combination, like
the dexterity.
structure
Yeah, no,
down.
it's a learned skill. No
Yeah.
doubt about it.
So it worked.
That's funny.
I get to ride that high horse right up until her marriage. Remember that time I locked the TV remote away and you got so mad at me?
I have long entertained the speech that I will demand to give at both of my children's weddings that will involve insane photos from the past and stories about their eternal shititude as children. I can't wait. Honestly, it's the only thing keeping me alive at this point. I'm pretty much, that's pretty much all I have to look forward to. Yeah.
Well, something we haven't said in a while, at least I don't think we've said in a while. Apple Q3 revenue was down 1.4% year over year. Although I believe they have like 1 billion users in their services program, or is it $1 billion or something like that? Probably 1 billion.
No,
people.
it's 1 billion subscriptions.
There we
So
go. That's what it is.
I had this really busy day yesterday. It's not worth describing in too much detail, but we had to get to a baseball game. Like, who cares? But that just meant we had like kind of a hard stop when we had to leave. And my brother-in-law and my sister were waiting on us. And we ended up delaying them half an hour. So they went without us and we met them there later. And I finished the thing I had to do, which was a lengthy recording for Hands on Windows, that podcast, the other podcast I do for Twit. I recorded 4 episodes. 2 of them were much longer than usual and very complicated. Anyway, I'm like, all right, we can go finally. And Apple earnings came in. I'm like, I can't leave, Stephanie. I'm sorry. And she's like, how long is this going to take? I'm like, 10 minutes, 15, I don't know. And so I kind of blew through it. I'm pretty sure that my article is full of math errors. I raised the one with you before the show, but about Amazon. But you can see my brain doesn't work. So yeah, this is probably full of errors. But there's all these details that came out in the conference call that weren't in the news post. So that was one, and it's a great example of how I'm going to update my article, by the way. It's a great example of how you can cherry pick, things to make something look good. And their service business looks great. I'm not downplaying that, but it is very interesting to me that they talked about subscriptions and not about subscribers, because as you know, and as a lot of people know, because a lot of Apple users, Apple has these subscriptions that involve multiple subscriptions, right? So you as one Apple user could be responsible for 3 to 7 subscriptions. So that number is in some ways inflated, but in some ways not, because there are the revenues are real, and there are savings to be had by bundling subscriptions if you want all those subscriptions. So it's one of those things that's kind of like it's skewed in one way, but it's also kind of skewed the other way. So I think the important thing, sorry to keep babbling, but is their services number is incredible. And the other thing that's incredible that I haven't looked because I didn't have time yet, but I hope people are calling out the fact that the iPhone is now less than 50% of their revenues.
Yep.
This has been a major goal of this company for a long time. And we always thought in the beginning that would happen at the hands of some other hardware device, because that's where Apple's successes had come from solely to that point. But no, it has come from this thing that relies on the iPhone for sure. But services is their second biggest business by far. And they've been very successful with that. So
81.8 billion in revenue.
Yeah,
by the way. So it's not like they're struggling. They are doing just fine.
No.
And net income of 19.9, we'll just say $20 billion in net income, which actually, was that less than Microsoft?
This is a profit, right? By the way, by all rights, it should always be less than Microsoft, because hardware is usually a much lower margin business. But Apple has been the one bizarre exception to that rule. So, by the way, 1.4%, 1% for sure, but I could make the argument 1.4. We're talking flat.
Yeah,
I mean, there's dollar variation and all kinds of things that go into this. There's no way you can complain about anything.
Although I will say that was a Ted Lasso quarter, so that probably drove up there.
What does that mean?
Ted Lasso's their most popular.
Ted Lasso, because of it was. Oh, I see. I'm sorry.
People signed up.
I was disappointed by the last season of Ted Lasso, by the way. It's a great show. I should just say, because everyone thinks I'm so negative, there's this underlying thing in TV where every once in a while a show comes along that's actually like wholesome and nice and good. And I will cite some specific examples. It's fascinating to me that many of those shows are made by the same person, Bill Lawrence. Bill Lawrence made Scrubs, which is one of the best TV shows ever made, except for last season. That's not his fault. And Cougar Town, also Bill Lawrence. And Ted Lasso, also Bill Lawrence. And I would just recommend, in this age of cynicism, anybody who wants a little pick-me-up and a feel-good kind of a thing, there's nothing wrong with it. It's great. Great show. But the third season was like a greatest hits thing. It was just the same themes over and over again. You could tell they were mailing it in to bring it to its logical conclusion, which, of course, is what happened. But
which is why I think we'll see how they're going to, I'm sure they're going to splinter out into different universes.
I think they got to do a spinoff,
just because it was so beloved.
Great characters, great writing,
Yeah, and actually, it's great. Like, I want more seasons of it, but kind of like you can kind of see that if they try to stretch 4, 5, 6 out of this, it's just going to go downhill.
I sort of appreciate that the show takes place in England and is shown a very English sensibility, and just ending it when it's time to end it. A lot of shows I wanted to continue, they just don't do that in England. Blackadder, IT Crowd, you could name anything, Faulty Towers, whatever. They tend to let shows run their course, and then they're done. They don't milk it. The United States, they'll milk it forever. So shows like Mad Men or The Office or whatever. Last season or two, you're like, man, you guys, what are we doing here? It's just the same thing over and over again. Anyway, we got off on a weird tangent. I'm sorry. Have a good weekend.